Hey YouTube, Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and in this episode, we're having a special guest, Joshua Sugarfire Barton. He got that name, the Sugarfire part, from his business that he works in. I'm not sure if he owns it. I guess we'll find out more about that in this episode. But he works at this Sugarfire barbecue restaurant in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis. Really good food. I went there in the St. Louis meet, the RPM meet that I went to, and the food is banging. And it does seem like a lot of the special guests that come on the What's Neat show with Ken Patterson and crew end up going to that restaurant as well. So I recommend, if anybody's out there that it does listen to this that hasn't been there, definitely check it out, because Joshua works there, and he's a pretty cool guy. I met him at Ken Patterson's house. He goes to the RPM meets. He's a really, really nice guy. He's really cool, has a cool vibe about him. And the neat thing is, he kind of like me with the hat and the tattoos and the goatee. I got like this image that you just say, hey, that one guy with the hat, and they're like, oh yeah, that guy. He kind of has that same look. Not the look, but he has his own look, basically. Like, you know who he is, even if you don't remember his name. Like, oh yeah, I've seen you. You're that guy. Like, I went up to the Amherst meet in 2020, the very beginning of 2020, before the pandemic hit. And I got recognized twice by two different people from being on What's Neat This Week with Ken Patterson. They're like, oh, you were on that show with Ken, or you were on the What's Neat show, just by me having that tattoos and the hat. This hat. They said, oh, you're that guy. And I was like, yep, that's me, because I'm the only guy that wears this hat. Joshua has the same kind of vibe. Like, you see him and you instantly recognize him, which is cool. He's got his own look, his own brand. He needs to get a logo for that. But yeah, that's Joshua. He's going to be on this episode. We'll find out more about him and his passion for the hobby, and just get to know Joshua. So stay tuned, and he'll be right here. All right, looks like recording. Hey, everybody out there. Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, in the podcast. Like I said in the intro, today's special guest is Joshua Sugarfire Barton. Joshua, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
Well, I started in the hobby pretty young. My grandfather bought my mother a train book to read to me at night, and it had the semaphore that moves up and down. So growing up, I had this, and all those PA units and all those steam trains in this book really got me to like trains at an early age. And then when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, my parents were at a garage sale, and there were about 4 giant cardboard boxes full of Lionel track and one train, and they bought it for me. And there was no power to it ever. I was too young to do the power thing, but my parents would let me set up the track all the way down the hall and through the rooms and around, and I would just push that little Lionel train all through the track. And that's really what got my juices flowing with trains. You know, and it wasn't just having a train that goes around the circle like a lot of other people did. It was, where can I take this track to? Where can this track lead? And that's really what got me just totally focused on the train aspect in general. You know, is where's the track's going to take me?
That's awesome. That's a metaphor for life too.
The older I get, the more it seems like I philosophize with that kind of stuff, you know. So
right. That's cool, man. That's awesome. So not knowing a lot about your background in the model train world, what do you like to model? Like what time frame and what's your favorite?
Well, so after a few years of doing that kind of stuff, I got into other things, a lot of video games, things that kids that, I was born in 78. So I had the 80s to, G.I. Joes, and Star Wars was huge with me, and the figures and stuff like that.
With everybody our age.
And the Nintendo came out, and I was completely addicted, saving the princess on Super Mario Brothers, was something that I had to do as a person,
We
I
all had to do that.
So I got more video games and stuff like that. I had a friend who had a little bit of a train layout in his basement. Nothing, plywood Pacific, but I used to go down there and hang out with him and do it. And then, school, cars, girls, got into the whole thing. So I guess I was about 32 when I started getting into the model world again.
Wow.
And did some N scale stuff, built an N scale layout. You can see that if you're friends with me on my Facebook page. I have a little setup, and I did pretty much the Katy, St. Louis and Missouri, train but I followed that, and I did a whimsical Ozark Mountains area because I live in the Ozark Mountains. So big sweeping hills and stuff like that. And I never really wanted to pinpoint a date. I think for me personally, saying, okay, it's January 7th of 1947 and it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I understand that for the prototypical people that want to run, their sheets and everything. But, I don't necessarily think that way. I want to see the trains, I want to. So I have all kinds of different, I'm right now, the layout that I'm working on is here in St. Louis. It's a town called DeSoto, Missouri, and they have a rich heritage. It was the Iron Mountain Railroad first, and they had a 33 stall roundhouse here in 1897. Huge roundhouse, biggest one in Missouri at one time. But then they were bought out by Union Pacific, or by Missouri Pacific. And then eventually Missouri Pacific was bought out by Union Pacific. So I want to have the aspect of all those different railroads in here. I want to run some steam. I love the Mopac colors, and then I like the modern stuff too. So I'm taking different parts of the town that I was in, or that I'm modeling, and I'm taking different time frames and pulling things back. Like I'm building it with the roundhouse where it was. And I'm building with the passenger depot where it was originally. It's not there now, but where it used to be is where it is on my layout. And I'm doing the rest of in a modern theme. So I got modern gas stations and everything like that. So I can run whatever I want. I can do older cars, newer cars on there. And with this layout that I'm building now, I wanted to focus more on vehicles and not just on the trains themselves. So I'm building, DeSoto's kind of a main strip. And so I'm doing it to where you can bring your 187th RC cars and drive them where you want on the layout. So I don't know if you're hip to the little Carson cars.
Well, I remember watching the What's Neat, and you guys were talking about that VW bus that you had bought.
Yeah, that's it right here. And it goes forward reverse. I mean, it's, here's the remote for it, and it's just like a big Traxxas RC car, You can drive wherever you want around there. So I want people to I'm making this entire layout to be interactive,
Nice.
Most people, when they make a layout, they have it and it's to visualize, and that's it. Part of my layout is a bar. a drinking bar. You know, I have the bar top and the train runs across the bar top right in front of you. You have seats right there. And then if you move over to the right a little bit from where you're standing at the bar, there's the different switches, some of my turnouts you're going to be able to, you know, do. There's different lighting functions that you can press, and it, you know, does different things. I want you to be immersed into the train, because a lot of times with model train sets, you look and you can't touch, and it's really cool, but you want to do more to it. And, you know, frankly, a lot of these places, you can't have people first time coming in and running the trains on the tracks because they, you know,
Right.
don't know protocols and this and that. And so I'm trying to get around that a little bit to where it's a little more interactive. That
is so awesome, because no kidding, in the last couple of episodes I've had, we've been talking about the future of just the 187 scale. And you see in the back, I have the modules, which you've seen at the RPM meets.
Oh yeah.
And I've been thinking that's kind of the next step, not necessarily having to go full RC with all your vehicles, but have it interactive, have a button that you push and things are moving on that module or a layout or a module layout, whatever. You know, that way the person looking at it has something to do. And then when they push that button, they can instantly be, like you said, immersed into that certain scene of whatever you had moving or whatever.
Absolutely.
I think that is a great idea.
And I've seen some little things like the chickens pecking in the farm. They have that one, or, you know, the ice skaters going around the ice when you hit the.
That's all basic stuff.
Right. You know, a little more. Then that's why I want to bring the RC car aspect into it, because there's a Six Flags here in Missouri. And one of their things when I was young was you put $1 whatever in, and it's the steering wheel and the up and back, and you're driving the cars are the RC boats in the little area, you know. And I always thought, how cool is that? So that's kind of what I'm trying to bring into my layout, is an immersiveness that, you know, you can drive the cars, or you can, you know, you want to drive down that alley, you're more than welcome to. You don't know what's at the end of the alley, but, you know, you can explore almost with a little vehicle or something. And I think that's the ultimate thing for train lovers, you know, or modelists in general.
I mean, it's definitely the next step, because I was saying in the last episode, or a couple episodes ago, I said it's so neat to see somebody put so much detail and so much time and effort into a model railroading out layout, and then the only thing that moves is the train. I mean, and then when you take a photo of it, you're taking a still photo of a certain time and place on that layout where nothing's moving, but in actuality, only the train's moving. How cool would it be if almost half of the crap on the layout was moving in some way or another? Even if it's just doing this, it's moving.
Exactly. There's function. You know, I want stuff to have functionality too, as far as that's concerned. You know, there's a Faller, the brand. They're a German car system, and I bought out of a whim. I bought the basic car system, so I can lay this wire down wherever under concreted, you know, area roads, and put that I got the bus, so the bus can go, and there's ways to make it stop, you know, and go. And that's what I'm talking about, you know, just having it in reality going in a circle, but still
it's still better than still and not moving at all.
Exactly. You know,
you see they have a bicyclist for that system.
I do. That's the new.
That's crazy.
Driven. Yeah, I don't know if your viewers know who Luke Towan is, but
if they don't, they better.
Well, right. If you don't, pause this right now.
Right. He's probably the leader in model dioramas in everything model creation wise.
And I mean, that's a great way to explore the hobby, is to do little dioramas like that. You know, you don't need to go full steam like I am. My layout is 26 foot by 8 foot. as of right now, but it will eventually go around the entire basement. So,
and how big is your basement?
but this is just phase 8, 16, 24, 32, about 45 feet.
So you're
by
halfway
28
there.
feet.
Halfway or a little less.
Yeah, I have a pool table down here and a foosball table. So my house is a split level, meaning when you walk in the door, there's stairs to go up to the kitchen and the bathroom, and 3 bedrooms, or go downstairs. And I have 3 bedrooms down there and a laundry room and then a 2-car garage.
So your doorway is the only one in the middle of those 2 floors.
Correct.
Why'd you buy that place?
It was actually,
that is like the dumbest reason to have a door there.
feeling nostalgic. I bought my parents' house, so
Oh well, no, that makes sense. That was a good choice.
Yes, very much so. And
why'd they buy it?
Right. Well, all together, but so I had no room for a big layout, so I was doing these modules. My best friend Tim, he has an unfinished basement. There's no access to upstairs through the basement. You got to go around the building.
Wow.
So he has a pool table down here, and we used to always hang out and play cards down here. And I'm like, let me build you. He said, I would really love to have a bar to sit at while we're playing pool. And I said, well, let me build you one. And he goes, okay, but what would the theme be? And I was like, it'd be train themed, because I'm going to build a model railroad around it. He's like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. He had never been into railroading at all. Not really. He's a chef like me, but other than that, he's not really hands-on. I've always been really, Legos or whatever. I've always had some form of building to do. And so I started building a bar, and finished part of the bar, and then started building part of the model layout. And,
that's neat.
So it's a great camaraderie, because I can come down here and hang out with him, and I'm building stuff. So I'm here. I come here every night after work, except for podcast nights, and I'm here till night. So I get it. I get a good 3 or 4 hours of working every night, and we hang out.
That's like the best of both worlds, because instead of just having a whole entire basement smothered in a railroad that you don't really have room to hang out with friends, you've figured out a way to where you still can hang out with friends and still have your modeling. So it's literally combining 2 super awesome things.
Absolutely. I had been this lone wolf for modeling for so many years. I was like, that's no fun. I want to bring friends into it. And I started to do that in my house with the modules, and everybody's like, it's cool, but it doesn't catch my attention. Let's go to the mall, or whatnot. So that's why I kind of brought it down here. And, okay, if you don't want to hang out with the train stuff, shoot some pool, or watch some TV. Right. Let's go over to the card table and play some Texas Hold'em or something, So there's a lot of different things to do down here, just other than model railroading.
Yeah. There was a place in, where's this place? I think, what's the city called? There was a restaurant. It was we only went there for breakfast, so I don't know what kind of restaurant it was. There was a restaurant near Knott's Berry Farm in California, which is near Disneyland. So I'm guessing Orange County. I'm guessing it's in. Anyways, there was a restaurant. I think it was attached to a mall that you had like probably this 20 to 30 foot front counter bar type table where you can sit and eat, or you had the tables along the side of the room. And on that table, back in the 80s when I went there as a kid, they had a HO scale train layout that did like this huge loop, like big turns at the end and then 2 middle pieces. And I believe it's been so long, dude. I'm 41 and I haven't been there since I was probably 8. So I believe the track was probably far back on the table so you can have your food up close, because it wouldn't make sense to have your food or the train right here while your food was way over there. But they allowed you to bring your own train engine in, or train your engine and
Oh,
cars.
that
And while you're eating, you can play trains. And then along the wall top, they had the G scale train going along. And I always remember that being such a neat idea for a restaurant.
yeah.
But you'd have to, the owner, the workers would have to know how to clean that, and if people spilt water on it or drinks, they had to clean it. So it's a bad idea, but it's a great idea if you know how to maintain it.
Right. In fact, at Sugar Fire, I have this giant neon sign up above everybody. It's probably starts 10 foot above the ground, and it says Sugar Fire on it. And I actually had just purchased a G-scale train. We were going to put some track up there and have a dog bone to where it comes back and forth. But then COVID hit and, all that other stuff. But yeah, I was definitely wanting to bring a little more train theme into Sugar Fire. So
that's awesome. That's cool, because I remember you saying you were going to do that, and then I hadn't heard any updates on the what's neat, and I figured it was probably because of COVID. Slows everything down and puts certain priorities in place.
There's 16 or 17 Sugar Fires. I am at the third Sugar Fire that they opened. I've been open 6 years this month. And we were so busy at one time that, I literally would have a line out the door and down the street. It's cafeteria style sitting, and I'm right behind the old Cardinal or the old Rams dome, football dome.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has a convention center hooked onto it.
Right.
So would get, if 80,000 people on certain weekends, 150,000 people, there are these giant conventions. You have different church groups like Kojic, Church of God in Christ, and they're 95,000 people strong, and every single one of them come to they have 8-day gatherings.
Wow.
I think they're going to Houston from now on because Missouri, St. Louis can't handle that amount of people at one time. So, but, we have all these different conventions. Comic-Con's huge here. All these, the boat show, the car shows, the motorcycle shows. Then you have monster jams come there and all this other stuff. So on these weekends, I can fit 120 people in my seats, but I can fit another 120 people standing in line to get food to go.
Yes.
So that looked at it, so we would open up the front doors, and we would literally have 200 people standing in line outside, and I would send it during very hot times. We would give them water, bring little cups of water out, free samples of rib bones. We trying to accommodate them because they're waiting for food. But I went from huge, massive volume of people to almost nobody. There hasn't been, because of COVID. Correct. So that really pushed our business almost, all the way down. I was worried, I was worried for my employees. So luckily, things are mellowing out a little more. Things are coming back. So, we were supposed to have the national train convention here for, last year, and that didn't happen. So I mean, it's a bummer all around, but I'm glad to see things are getting back to normal, and hopefully the restaurant flourishes still as it is starting to do, and I can get that train set up there, and sky's the limit. So
it is. I mean, especially if the money comes in, because if the money doesn't come in, then the sky is very low.
Right.
But your restaurant was really good. I took my dad. I took my parents there, and my son and my daughter. And I mean, It was busy, but it wasn't too busy. We found seats inside, and we
Right.
only waited in line for maybe 15 minutes, so it wasn't long. Um, and the food was great. So and it was reasonably priced. So it wasn't like a super expensive 5-star restaurant where you could barely afford to eat, with having food just as good as something you would see there or taste there. I don't know. It
And,
was good
and
food.
the owners are great people. They're, family people. A couple guys that have done some other restaurants and said, hey, we have an idea for a great niche barbecue place where our main concern is gonna serve good food.
Yeah.
Who cares what's on the
Sugar
wall?
and
Or
fire.
sugar. So uh the one owner, um he did a lot of barbecue competitions, so that's where the fire comes from. And then one of the other owners, his wife is a pastry chef and always wanted to have her own pie shop, so that's where the sugar comes from. So we put them together, Sugar Fire. And so she makes all of our pies and confectionaries. She does smoked chocolate chip cookies. You know, we have seasonal pies. We take a piece of pie and physically put it in a milkshake. So that's where the sugar comes from in Sugar Fire. So that's
That's a
how
cool
they.
story, though. I mean,
A
I
great story.
doubt most people even know any of that. So it's neat that there is a
I
story and that you can tell it.
Absolutely, and here I am, 6 years ago. I so I've always been in the restaurant. I've always had two jobs. It seems like it's always been one in the restaurant business and another doing something else. Uh, I started, first job was Kentucky Fried Chicken, scrubbing dishes. 15 years old, had to get a work permit, had to have my friend drive me because I had no car. Couldn't even have my license yet.
Right.
So I worked there, and I kept going to these places. I worked at Applebee's and all these silly little places when I was young, and just working for a few months and not knowing what was going on, or not having any concept of all right, this is a job.
Right, right.
And then I went to work at a place, and for the first time, someone didn't tell me to do something. They told me to do something and then told me why I should do it and explain the dynamics of it, just
Which is
for a quick
different.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just, why before we do this? Well, it's because of this. And, and that once people started explaining things to me, I had a hunger for that. And I had worked there. That was the longest job at the time that I had. And he said, you really need to do something else with your, this is meaningless. You got to bump up some more. So I got a job under a master chef, Pierre Chamberlain. He was the executive chef for George Herbert Walker Bush in the White House. And then he
Wow.
left right after Clinton took office. Clinton had his own chef. So Pierre came to St. Louis, and he worked at this private club called the St. Louis Club. It's the 14th, 15th, and 16th floor of a building in Clayton, which is a big highbrow area of St. Louis. And I started working for him, and it was a jaw-dropping experience. He was obviously French and had all kinds of interns from France doing different things, an entire butchery department where we had racks of hanging cow, pig, lamb, and they would butcher them into the specific pieces of meat. Had all kinds of different, things to learn. And so I started as a saucier, learning how to make sauces and soups and stuff like that. And then I really got into pastries. There was an amazing pastry chef there. And so after my shift, I would go over into the pastry shop and I would work for free for a few hours just to learn more pastry stuff, blowing and pulling sugar and making this amazing. It wasn't just, dessert. It wasn't just a piece of cake. It was art on a plate. And that's really, it just kind of took off there, and I went from there and worked for a couple other really good chefs. And that's how I learned, from hands-on. I never went to culinary school. And by the time I realized that culinary school might be a thing that I need, I had already surpassed anything that I would have learned in culinary school,
That's awesome.
So it was amazing, cooking these amazing events of 7 different courses for 500 people, and it, taking hours to prep it, days to prep it, and then execution. And there's, 20 other chefs there in the room, all plating one specific thing on these plates as they go out. It was just an amazing process. And
it's like an assembly line of just perfectness.
It was. Oh, and just because it was an assembly line doesn't mean it's any less elegant. No, it
makes
it's
it probably
just
more elegant because you can perfect it.
Exactly. And then, I worked in every aspect of kitchens, from butchering to pastries, and working lines and saute and, all these different things. Was a banquet chef for a few years. And that's the passion that I have for doing the things that I do, because it's a lot of hard, long hours and a lot of standing up, a lot on your feet, a lot of sweating your ass off.
Yeah, that's so awesome. But I'm not gonna lie, when I said tell us a little bit about yourself, nobody goes this deep. You and Ken are the only two. So the St. Louis people are going deep. Nobody goes this deep. And it's really cool because even the little bit that all the other guests have ever said, it still only gives you that much of who they really are. And you're really bringing it home. So this is neat. I love it.
I've done a lot of things with my life, and like I said, before I started talking about being a chef, is I've always had something else to focus on other than cooking, because cooking is so high stress and it's so cutthroat. When I was starting out, it was, you better do the best you can, because there's 5 other people behind you that are trying to pull you down and on you to get your position. Exactly. So you always have to have the cutting edge and be on your toes and look behind you, So I needed something to always kind of decompress from that kind of stuff. So when I was about, I guess, 22, I met this guy and I started DJing weddings. And not the necessarily wedding, but the reception afterwards. And that that sprang a whole new mousetrap with me, getting in there and being in front of people. And I had never really had any, I did a public speaking course in high school, but other than that, I wasn't very comfortable with talking to people in a broader aspect, and that was almost, it was such an experience that made me grow as a person. Yeah. Because, I did that for 7.5 years. And after 7.5 years, I can get up in front of a stage and talk to thousands of people with no all. Because for probably the first 3 years, I'd be in the back puking because I was so nervous before everything. I was worse than the groom or the bride was on their day, because one little slip up and they're going to notice, their friends are going to. Funny anecdote, the mic cut out one time and her name was Amanda. And I thought I said Amanda, but with the crack, they said it was Amber. And it turns out this girl named Amber was this husband's ex-girlfriend that just tried to break up the marriage a few days before. So a couple days after, they called my boss and said, we're suing your guy because he took a bribe to say Amber. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? And
Right.
so of course that's why they had insurance, and you know, my boss took care of everything. I never had to, you know, I'm sure they said sorry and gave the money back or whatever. But from that point on, I realized, oh my God, words can hurt people and
Yeah.
real quick. So I really have to watch my P's and Q's. But wedding DJing was a total stress eliminator after you get over that hump. And I almost, now that I look back on it, I really enjoyed that feeling of, oh my God, you know, I'm all stressed out because of this, but then bam, you get on stage and you start doing your thing, and you know,
You control the room.
exactly. And that's, once I learned how to herd people like that, it was real easy for me. I became ordained so I could do some marriages, and did that for, you know, as a package deal. Hey, I'll do your reception and I'll do your marriage if you'd like, you know. And then I got with a couple friends and we did a few packages where you get the wedding, you get the DJ, you get the dinner. We'll go ahead and do a buffet dinner. I'll make your cake for you. We'll do everything as a package deal. And that was really fun for a while, until I relied on people that I thought would do it. And, you know, it's Saturday night. I got other plans or stuff like that. And that's when
weddings happen.
I know. Well, you know, me being in the restaurant industry, I never had weekends off. I never had holidays. You know, if I wanted to spend Thanksgiving with my family, we did it the Monday after Thanksgiving, because that was the next day I was off. You know, I never got, you know, never did 4th of July or anything like that, because I was always at the country clubs. You know, I was always taking care of everybody else. So weekends weren't a thing for me. You know, my weekends to this day, this is my weekend. You're talking to me on my Saturday. You know, it's Monday right now. But
dude, I work a 4-day shift where Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is my weekend. So Thursday and Friday, which is nobody's weekend, that's my weekend.
Right. So it works for me though. You know, I can get stuff done. I can, you know, it's nice to drive to work on Sunday morning when no one else is on the road. You know, let me tell you.
Yes, it is.
You know, but
no, that's great, and I even love it. When the pandemic hit, the few days right when it hit that I still had to go to work, because like everybody else was smart enough to just stay home, and my company was dumb and said, no, come in still. And there's nobody on the road. It was awesome. There wasn't even cops on the road, so they could do 80, 90 miles an hour and never have to worry about it.
So let's see, it was March 11th. We were, me and some friends were in New Orleans, went down there. Our flight out was March 11th, and we were one of the last flights that was able to leave there and got home time. And so I worked from the 12th, March 12th, to the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day. I went on one of our local TV stations to talk up a sandwich that I was doing and give them the whole spiel of our St. Patrick's Day menu and stuff. So I had to do one on Sunday on Channel 2, and then that next day, the Monday, I had to be on Channel 4, and they called me at like 5 a.m. and said, we're just locking everything down. No one's allowed anymore. So your spot's canceled. So I went back to work, and, you know, a few days later, we were pretty much shut down. So, you know, we got to open back up a month or so later, but it was hard.
It's so weird to me to think that restaurants would have closed. I understand almost everything did close. Grocery stores never closed though. And think about, say, like, perfect example, New York City, where nobody really goes grocery shopping in the city. They're always going to a deli or a little restaurant on the corner somewhere down the street from their house. And that's how they get their food every day. To have restaurants closed throughout the whole country just seems so dumb to me. Like, have the people working there, but nobody allowed in, and you just hand the food out to people that are ordering online. I mean, kind of like how they were doing it, throughout the rest of the last year, anyways. But had they done that from the start, that would have made a lot more sense than to have them closed completely, just even for a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever. I never understood that.
I don't know. I mean, government is government.
Right. Grant you, at the same time, I was saying that I think we should have been quarantined a lot longer the first round instead of opening everything up halfway and letting the second wave hit us.
Right.
But the restaurants should have stayed open, just like grocery stores.
As far as in St. Louis, restaurants are needed, like just like in New York, a lot of people don't go get groceries. They go out to eat or get, and curbside became a big thing with us. So that's where we really started getting a lot of business again was, you don't want to come in. That's fine. We really don't want you to come in. We'll bring it out to your car.
Right. We'll make it all day, all night, but stay out there and we'll still feed you.
Along with every other place during the last year, we just had to rethink everything, and and we made it work, and it works good to this day. I'm at 50% capacity, so I had 120 ish seats in there, so I'm down half. And that also includes, the health department told me that my half capacity is how many chairs that I have in there, right? 50% of the chairs, but people in line count is that.
So now it's even less.
Now it's even less. I can only have 58 people. I have 58 chairs out now, and only 58 people can be in the restaurant. So that includes my line. So anybody that's getting it to go has to wait outside.
Right.
Until someone leaves their chair, So, I mean, that's for everybody around here. Everybody's hurting, I've had.
Oh yeah.
Right in my section of St. Louis, there's 1, 2, 3. There's probably 7 or 8 major restaurants that I never thought would close have just shut themselves down. I mean, they, it's sad. That's dreams and expectations that, it's not just a place to eat. Someone dreamt that place up,
Right.
For years,
it's their livelihood.
For years and years, my goal was, all right, I'm going to become a chef. I'm going to be an executive chef. I'm going to run my own brigade kitchen. I want to be a general manager. And then I want to own my own restaurant. And here I'm a general manager and executive chef. I don't want to own my own restaurant anymore, and I haven't and it has nothing to do with Corona or anything like that. I saw that years ago that, you put your heart and soul into something, and then one person can come and say, hey, something happened and I'm without anything, and I don't want to put in a basket like that. So,
No, that makes sense.
And I was talking earlier about open 6 years ago. Well, 6 years ago, I was done with the restaurant business altogether. I had worked in these country clubs and stuff, and you always have this corporate snobbery up there, or members that run the board of governors for this country club. And, if they don't care about you, you're just the one making and bringing the food,
Right. You're nobody.
So So, if they don't like something, I have to change it. I understand that, but I want a little more. I was tired of having all these people that don't know how to run a kitchen. And that was a lot of it, So I was 6 years ago, I was ready to, all right, I'm going to go be a car salesman, or, I'm going to go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go dance somewhere or something, but, I I wasn't going to cook anymore. I was completely done. And the guys from Sugar Fire came to me and told me about this concept. And I went to their first store and I was like, this is amazing. You know, I can have full range of what I want to do, whatever, you know, as long as it's cost effective, do it, you know. So I can come up with the most harebrained, you know, let's put 16 patties together of a burger and, you know, Big Dipper, and then charge 100. If you eat it all in an hour, you get a shirt, you know, or whatever. He's just coming up
a
with
shirt that costs $16.
Exactly. Your name gets spray painted on the wall or whatever, you know. I mean, all these different. So I got the creativity to. Sugar Fire has a special sandwich or a special thing that changes every single day, and then our sides. We have a few staple sides: baked beans, coleslaw, potato salad, French fries. But then everything else changes. So depending on what I want to do or what I got to take or what I think, you know, the weather's going to be like, or, you know, whatever, however I want to spin it, I can make whatever I want, you know, and as long as it's tasty and delicious, then, you know, I can do it. And I love that creativity. And, you know, like I said, I'm creative.
Yeah, that's literally the best thing any creative person, and most model people doing any models are creative people. That's why they're modelers. If you trap them in a box, if you limit their skills or their desires, it's not a good atmosphere for anybody, because it doesn't make you, the modeler, or the person with the ideas, want to have good ones, because they're probably going to get shot down and not be able to be seen, not be able to be made. So to allow that creator, you, the ability to be able to create anything you want, as long as it's workable, that's like the best thing in the world.
And I give that creativity to my employees too. You know, I don't want them to, I don't want to always have to come up with the stuff. You know, I don't want to.
It's tiring being a genius.
It's just tiring in general. And for a coworker to come up to me and be like, you know, I really want to do some New Orleans style barbecue shrimp for a Lent special. Well, yeah, let's do it. You know, make me some. If it's good, then we'll do it. You know, and he comes back 20 minutes later with this amazing dish that I probably couldn't have done just like that. And I mean, it's absolutely delicious. And here, you know, I can charge $13 for it, and it's under my budget. So yeah, let's do it, you know. And then
it makes financial sense.
And that same dish, I did that the first Friday of this Lent, and I go to New Orleans a lot. The gentleman that helped me with it, it was his idea. He goes to New Orleans a lot, so we made something up. We have a lady who's a regular. I have a lot of apartment and buildings around me, and a lot of regulars. So this lady came up to me and she said, I lived in New Orleans for 25 years. I've been here for 10 years. This is the first time that a dish has made me go back to New Orleans, you know, and just you know, the goosebumps that you get from that. For, you know, food is art, food is passion. You know, I had a chef tell me one time, the first bite of food that you ever get, you take with your eyes. When someone puts that, you've already taken a bite after you see it. That's the first bite, is with your eyes. So if it doesn't look appealing, then your mind's going to say, oh, it's not that appealing, you know. But if you're enthralled by what's just been set in front of you, you know, then it's anticipation to get into it. And that really changes the psyche for a lot of foodies, you know, after they
definitely. Perfect example. Growing up in California my whole life, every single shopping center in California has an independent donut store, and they're donut and coffees. And, you know, they're probably open from like 3 a.m. Well, they get in at 3, probably open up at 6, and then stay open until they run out of donuts that day or whatever. every single shopping center. So every 5 miles or less, every 2 miles, there's a donut store. I grew up on donuts. I moved to North Carolina. At the time, all we had was Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts, and those are crap to me.
Those
True,
aren't
just
good.
pieces. No, it's such a horse crap of a food. I can't stand it. And then what got really popular 7 years ago, 8 years ago, are these gourmet style pastry donuts, like the over the top, the $4 per one donut type deal. And they were made the same way, like the donut dough was made the same way as you would a Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donut. They just piled all this stupid flashy stuff on top and sold it for way overpriced.
Yeah.
Then this one donut store moves in to my city, and it's on the opposite side of my city, so it's 20 minutes away. And they make donuts like they did out there in California. And I fell in love, and I said, finally. I'm out here for 13 years now. I think it opened maybe 4 years ago. I said, finally, you're giving me a piece of California out here in North Carolina. And I said, there's no place out here. I can guarantee you there's no place, because I've gone to a lot of them trying to find a donut store, and there isn't one. You guys are by far the best place. And since then, they've gotten so much business from my word of mouth that people prefer this donut store, this one place in North Carolina, over 90% of the donut stores in North Carolina. And it's where my company goes and gets their donuts when they have like conference meetings for people from outside of the state come in or whatever.
That's awesome.
So just like you said, you see it, you recognize it's something familiar and it looks good. And then you taste it and you're like, oh, this brings me back. So yeah, man, I get what you're saying.
Yep.
So this was a great story. I'm so happy that you said all this. And for anybody listening or watching, in the description below, I'm going to have his Facebook page down there so you can contact him if you want about whatever. And I'll also put his restaurant website in there so you can find a restaurant near you, if there is one, and go taste that food for yourself. See if you like it if you're not in the St. Louis area.
Yeah, you can find all that on Facebook, both myself and my Sugar Fire and all the other Sugar Fires. So, and then I have my own independent Facebook site for my railroad too. It's called Fountain City Railroad.
I'll put that in the link to, or that description too.
I don't have a sticker or anything around. I guess I should have.
Do you have a Sugar Fire on your layout?
I built one on. I know you used the same Victory gas station for your first Halfass customs. I bought, and I have everything to make the inside a Sugar Fire, along with a Connex, because I smoke all my meats in a Connex. And I was going to do this on a demo layout, and I don't know if I have room on this part of the layout, but I think it's going to go down there eventually. But I will have a Sugar Fire on there.
Car themed building Sugar Fire. Best combination.
Well, I got all these ideas, and for me doing a prototypical layout, I kind of have to stick with what's in DeSoto, Missouri to make it,
Right.
But I made the main line to where it runs off of both sides. And then there's stuff to do in the layout itself. But so I can expand however I want. And I want to go, I want to go this way with it. And I want to go this way. And that way I can do whatever I want and just do, I'd like to have a nice car dealership, and I'd love to have a half-ass custom shop on my layout.
We can make that work. I don't have a branch out there in St. Louis yet, so hey.
I want to have all this other stuff. Like I said, the guy that owns the basement, he's not a train guy, but he's more of an idea man. I call him my land baron because he owns all the land that the train is on. But he comes up with all these crazy ideas. He wants me to put a ski slope in and have like a Aspen-esque style area. And, he just throws out these crazy and absurd ideas, and I just go with them.
Well,
And
with the amount of snow you guys got at the beginning of this year, you could literally have an Aspen style snow ski lodge up there.
yeah, we got hit pretty good. But then that makes me look into things. There's a company out of Chicago called Reynolds, and we've had them on a show a couple times. But they have a lot of European stuff, and they have some great ski lifts that are real working ski lifts.
That's great.
I mean, that would be really cool to get all that stuff and to make some, all the way to the ceiling mountains and have people skiing down them, and I mean, their smaller car system or that,
it would work.
It would work to utilize that kind of technology to do something like that. So
remember when you were a kid, because that's the only time you've seen them unless you went to vintage toys, shows or swap meets or whatever. But remember when you were a kid, they had those, I think they were wind up toys of like penguins that would climb up the mountain on a stair lift, and then it would slide down the slide and then go back. That's what you need. If you're going to do that, you need the people to be able to sit in the car lift up and then get off of it and slide down on their skis.
That would work well, like with some kind of magnetic system on the chairs. And that's my mind is always working with different things. How can I do that? But how can I do it differently to where it's, unique?
Yeah.
So,
because I mean, obviously you can do like a conveyor belt where they're just skiing down straight and then they go back under the conveyor belt and get back up on top and then ski down and then go. That's right. That's a way, but it's not cool because it's very cheesy. You'll see how it's done within seconds of watching the skiers go down.
But if there was a way to take them up on the ski lift, and then once they're up, they could
release the magnet, and then they go down.
And then there could be different routes that they could take depending on momentum or something, kind of like a Plinko, something that to where it can go down this way or it can go down this way, or there's.
I think what you could do is at the top of the ski lift have like channels that open up, like clockwork or whatever. And this way the skier goes down this track and then gets to that car driving system, or this door opens and it goes to the center one, or this door opens, it goes to the far one.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that way then they're all going in different directions at different points of the day or whatever. I don't know. It's See, you and me, we're thinking alike.
Yeah. Ideas. That's all we need.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to a lot of people, and the hobby we're in, it's so jumping right now with technology, with the 3D printers and the RC cars, and then the trains getting better, the sound, the lighting that James Revere's doing. I mean, it's so popping so fast and so big at this moment in our hobby that the ideas that we have are gonna happen within a few years, if not sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Wonderland in Germany. That's the mecca of of everything motorized.
I mean, how cool would it be to have an airport that really the planes really fly?
$4 million airport.
Well, no, that'd be worth it.
I mean, their airport definitely. I mean, they got a Millennium Falcon that goes there.
I've drooled over that video so many times you don't even know. So
I've said it in a couple episodes. I said the only thing they did wrong with that Millennium Falcon is have it land and taxi like an airplane, because it wouldn't. That's the only thing they did wrong. And I understand why they did that, because the system was already there and working. So they just had to attach something to it. But
yeah, I mean, the way their lighting system is there, I'm trying to create that. I have the hill behind me. So that hill there's a little notch cut out of the back, and I have some strip lighting back there, and that's a west facing wall. So that wall is going to have a sunset. Yeah. So I mean, and that's something I probably saw that 15 years ago in I guess a model railroader magazine. That was
maybe
before...
something Ken came up with.
No, it wasn't Ken. I know because he wowed. I showed him. But yeah, it was. I remember it was so long ago that we didn't have LEDs yet, and the rope lights were really big. So what the guy used was rope lighting back there, and that's the coolest effect I've ever seen. So
what you could do too is also use that for like a city at night that lights up, like after the sun's down, a city that lights up that's behind the mountain. That light would just look like there was a city back there.
And so I got the little strands of the flat lighting with the remote. I don't know where the remote's over there somewhere, but I can change it to probably 10 or 12 different colors. Awesome. So I could get that. I could get that white lighting back there because there is a town. The other part of town is over that hillside, so that would work well for my layout as well.
Yeah, you need maybe 2 sets. So when the sun's setting, the other set starts to illuminate slowly as they cross each other.
And that's one of the things I need to start learning is all that Arduino stuff and the Raspberry Pi things. You brought up James Regier. I mean, he is very versatile and very versed in that.
And very vocal about all of it.
Very, very much so. So, those are, but I mean, that's part of the hobby that I love. I've been in other hobbies and I felt snubbed out. I did RC planes for a while. I did RC cars for a while. And that's kind of a niche area. No one wants to talk to you, especially when you talk about racing RCs and stuff like that. No one wants to give you any advice because they're afraid you're going to come kick their ass. And that's what it wasn't about for me. It was about some camaraderie or something and, learning about the hobby. And I really didn't get that. And it was even worse when I was doing RC planes, and third, a ton of money, I had bought a couple nice big planes and used those. And tried to get some feedback from some people at there's different areas that you can fly those, and so there's groups and stuff, and they didn't want to give me any information. They didn't want to let me play in their reindeer games, or anything like that. So I kind of went lone wolf, and that's where I got really distant with my own hobby. And here I spent a bunch of money on a plane that, got shipped from China, and I had to build it, and I built it, and the technology, it turns out I didn't realize, weight and dispersing weight evenly in planes. I didn't understand that concept yet. And the directions told me to build it one way, but the directions were for a different size battery than I was using. I was using a lithium that had a different, so that made the dispersal of the weight management offset. And I didn't realize that until it was up about, 250 feet in the air and I was flying great. And then all of a sudden something went wrong and that battery slid forward. And it was quite a huge chunk of a whole paycheck that now is just on the ground and not even able to be used again. So, and I felt if I had other people telling me about it, then, maybe if I would have had it, it took me, 6 or 7 months to build it. So if I would have had someone go, oh, wait, so that bummed me out. And that's part of what got me back into trains is, hey, trains are going to fall from about this high, not from way up there, right.
And they're not and then a whole check worth of train that would fall if it did. Maybe
You'll
some
have,
would, but maybe most wouldn't. Maybe.
right, right. But and so I started doing that, and I started going to the meets and stuff, the RPMs, and I just got enthralled with people not only wanting to know who I was, but wanting to help me. And that just, I mean, it was such an eye-opening experience that this hobby, they want to be my friend, they want to give me information. It's not like a total, blackout silence,
Right.
that the R lane world was. So that's really what pushed me a lot more into, okay, let's get back into the train.
Well, heck, even I was building 125th scale model cars most of my modeling career. So for about 20 years, and I was young. I was 10 years old when I started, and all through my teens, which was the 90s, was exactly like that. And everybody that had the skills and the know-how was a hush hush. And being that I was just a kid, they were like, "Oh, you're never going to be nothing. I could see what you're building now. You're no good. So there's no reason to waste any of this, information on you." And it never stopped me from building, but I never grew either. I just kept building how I built because I didn't know the tricks and the trades and whatnot. And I ended up getting out of it for a couple years just because I got burnt out. I was like, I'm not advancing my skills. I'm stuck doing this. I like them, but they're not doing anything for anybody else, not making any magazines, not making any, competitions or whatever. So I got into Hot Wheels, and even in the Hot Wheels world, it's not like how model railroading is. You're not building a cartoon layout. So everything is mostly prototypical. And even if you're not building a prototypical one, it's still to scale. You're not putting 125th scale cars on a 164 scale layout or a 187 scale layout. It's all to scale. And in the Hot Wheels world, there were a lot of cartoony cars. People were going way huge wheels and little bodies or whatever. Big old engines that wouldn't even be able to fit into a car anyways. Right. And I was kind of getting disappointed with that. So I jumped into the 187 scale world, and nobody was doing what I do. So I was like, oh, sweet. This is great. I can take all those skills I know from the modeling of Hot Wheels and 125th and transfer it into this little scale. And still today, there's really nobody doing what I do. So I'm in a niche of myself, but I, like you, I'll tell everybody how to do it. Like the Ghostbusters car. I will let you have every link I have to get your own and build it the way you want to, and save $100 compared to how much I'm going to charge you for me to build it for you.
Right.
And I have no problem doing that, because if you want to do it, I'd rather you do it than me having to do it anyways. I don't need the money. I just do it because you want me to do it. But if you can do it yourself, go for it. I'll give you everything you need to do it.
I love having, that's a big part of it. Some of it I, and with buildings too, some of it I would rather take the time and build my own than buy one. But on the same aspect, there are a couple buildings on my layout that would have took me 3-4 weeks straight to work on to be as good as a store bought.
Yeah.
I just at Menards the other day, and I got this Cripple Creek lumber mill, right? It's all got people in it. It's got all kinds of lumber in it. It's all detailed and everything. $50. This would have took me, if I would have made this, it were probably $80 worth of paint and materials and everything. And then it would have took me 3 weeks to build it. So that's
I got something for you. That I don't think you've seen.
Okay.
And you're going to absolutely love it, and you're going to buy it. Not from me. You're going to buy it yourself.
Okay.
But you need to have one. It's the clock tower from Back to the Future.
Is that 187 scale?
It's close enough, but it's also cartoon or movie style built. So if you can see Let me see if I can turn a light on. I don't even know if I can turn a light on. Is there a light on this? I don't see that there's a light on this.
That's all right.
Well,
I
I
see it.
guess. Okay, if you can see, I'm gonna do like a ground up photo. If you can see that the pillars, they get skinnier, and then the top windows are super small compared to the middle windows and the bottom windows.
Yeah.
So it's made to literally be like a movie set. So when you go take a tour of the Universal Studios backlot, every building and every house is scaled smaller as you look upwards because it gives you a taller look, even though you don't need that much room. So this was made to be like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so if you look at this is a 187 scale person or HO scale person, and if you look at, let me get that out of the way. That's pretty much the size of the door.
Yeah.
So cool. Let me tell you how I got that. Pre-made, you don't have to do anything but buy it. It's one of those Funko Pops. Those stupid toys with the big heads?
I am on the Back to the Future. I get everything Back to the Future. I see it on emails. They send it to me, and I think I saw some of that.
Yeah, they have. I think Doc comes with that building, and I don't collect Funko Pops, but I said let me buy that because my eye sees that building and says it's probably close. Let me just buy it. It's $20. It's not going to kill me, and it works. It's perfect, especially for my backlot tour module. It's perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
So that will work for you.
So since we're talking about Back to the Future, let me get into this monster here. I don't know how to flip my. Oh, here it is up here. Boop. So this is my, I believe it's 1/8 or 1/10 scale DeLorean. It's from a company called Eagle Moss, and they send me different packets. They send me a few packets every month, and it comes with its own book for that particular packet. Let me see if I can probably take it off here.
Does it light up?
It does. So there's batteries in it, and when it's all together, and damn it, I'll just open it up. So there's all these different wires that are coming out. You see the little hookups for it, and they're all over the place, but they plug in all together. And then when you press the brake down there, the brake lights light up. When you flip the switch, the blinkers light up. So it's really detailed.
Oh my
and
gosh.
They send it in month installments, and it's every wire, every little bit you put pretty much together yourself. It is amazingly cool. It's got the trunk and everything like that. So in the first installment, you get the Mr. Fusion reactor, and you get the bumper, and then along with time you get everything else. This has the original wheels on it. One installment you get the red innered wheels from the 1950s with the white wall tires, and then later on you get the rail wheels, and you actually get to build a piece of track, and that's what it sets on. But the base came with it. There's a lid, a glass lid that goes over the top. And I mean, it's real metal. It's probably about 10, 12 pounds, just the car right now.
Wow.
So I'm on episode 90 or issue 90, and there's 159 issues. I have the book here, and this is every issue in this book. So you can kind of flip through, and it shows, here you're building the engine, and here's where every single part goes and how it looks, and you screw it all together. So it's just super intricate with every single, piece is where it originally goes on the original car. And just the workmanship that they put in to it is amazing.
Well, I mean, look at all that wiring, and I mean,
Yeah.
159 installments of just parts. Jeez. So does it have sound too, or is it just lights?
It's just lights.
Oh man.
And
I mean, that's good enough though.
so the reason that I got this and I pulled the trigger because it's kind of expensive. The first installment was $19, and you get an extra. I think I got a out of time license plate that was real size, and that's the whole reason that I got it at first.
Oh.
But I remember when I was about 12 years old, my dad bought me a Tama Lunchbox RC car, and it was the first RC car that I ever had. And when he got it and opened up the box, and there was like 5,000 parts and little bitty screws. And I remember him sitting at the kitchen table after he got home from work every night for, geez, it seemed like months and months. And he would sit there and try and put this thing together, and a screw would pop out and he'd be cussing. But, that was the coolest thing for me to watch him put all these little intricate parts together. And that's what I looked for when I got back into RC, is I wanted to put something together. But everything, Tama, all these other RPMs, they all come already built and everything.
Right.
So that's why I thought I'd pull the trigger on getting this and building this, because this was near and dear to my heart. Putting something together with all the, it makes me think of my dad and all the effort that he put in for me to have that RC car. So this is really, I had to jump on it. After the first couple episodes, I was completely hooked.
That's awesome. That's so neat. I've only ever seen the Ecto 1 version of that, and YouTube's got so many people doing build-ups on their own version of it, and they're all the same car, so you don't really need all them different videos. Right. But it's still neat that that company does it. And on Facebook, I liked the first post I ever seen that they offer that, and I get these updates like every other day. They doing something that company is offering, and this and coupons and discounts, and it's like I don't want it, I don't need it, I don't want to build it, but maybe I stop liking it and they'll stop sending me the updates. I don't know.
I'll tell you,
because I love the car and I would love to have the car. I don't want to wait that long to build it though. I just want it done.
Yeah, and definitely that's what I did over last summer and spring. Is I would put it away. I would put it out of sight, and I would wait to get 4 or 5 boxes. So I got a few months worth of things, so I can sit down and work on it for 2 or 3 nights straight and get all this progress done. But yes, it's very hard once you've, all right, all my packages are done, I got to wait. So it's definitely,
right.
Yep.
That's cool. That's a neat car. And I remember a while ago, this is probably late 2019, maybe middle of 2019, there was an episode of What's Neat where you and Ken were looking into making the DeLorean ride on the tracks of an HO layout.
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
It's
I never saw an update on it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of have went by the wayside. I still have everything, and I can see it where it's sitting right now, and eventually that'll happen. I took it all apart, and I do a couple issues, and I was going to have Mike Buddy help me, and we just really, other things take precedence. So it's on my list a little further down. So
I had an idea right before I started talking to you tonight, was if you could take a mechanism like your RCVW and put it in that DeLorean, just take out the whole interior and black out the windows. And then you don't have to steer it, obviously. You just hit the drive button and it can ride on the tracks all the way around, and you don't need the engine to pull it or push it.
That's definitely another project. And I've talked with a gentleman in Australia. His name's Marty Jenkins. He does a lot of the NMRAX events with Gordy Robinson. And he does a whole lot of a 187th RC. And if you, I think he's under Marty Jenkins on YouTube, but you can check him out. And he has blinkers and reverse lights, and I mean all horn in it and everything. So the technology is there. He gets most of it from a gentleman in China, which I don't know his name, but he does. I know he has some like Le Mans cars out that you can race. He has probably 6 different styles of those in RC, but that's blowing up over there. And he told me that there's a few different cars that he could send us the innards for, and if Mike and I are smart enough, we can put that in really whatever we want.
Right.
That's a little bit. I just had to start wearing glasses because I'm getting older, and glasses. So I'm having some issues with that little miniature fine scale stuff. So as soon as my glasses get integrated and I get the right, able to see that small, I think we'd be able to accomplish some of that stuff. But
you said you're
definitely on the.
You said you're 42. I know Ken's a little bit older than you and I, or maybe a little bit older. I won't say how old, but a little bit older. Maybe you could put those glasses on your head and have the other ones on your face, and you can have your own logo, the Joshua Barton logo.
Logo. So I'm content hanging out with Ken. He's a great guy. I obviously, like everybody else, I've been watching him forever. He is. I know people are going to give me flack for this, but he's kind of the modern John Allen, with his photography and, looking into new things and just kind of breaking barriers with stuff, and
he definitely did
doing that for years. And for me to just be around him and him show me tricks of the trade, him, Mike Buddy too, really everybody, Campbell Rice, all these people, separate minds, but one entity as far as the What's Neat network, I mean.
Yeah. And your little group out there, it's like you're all one big brain that has all the information for all these little techniques, these little ideas, these angles, these, shortcuts. You're all right there to feed off of each other and work so good. I almost want to move out there when the kids go to college, just so I could be closer to you guys.
I'll tell you, I've learned decades of material in months, I mean, having those guys out there. And then think of all the faces and the people that have came through,
Right.
I mean, there's just too many to mention, but I mean, it's just one big collective, resistance is futile. So,
yeah. And that's kind of why I started this podcast too. I wanted all the people that are in the hobby of 187 scale vehicles and or HO people that are listening, or just hobbies in general. I wanted this to be a get to know the modeler, get to know what they're thinking, get to know their background, get to know them. Because, we see these posts on Facebook. We see maybe like on What's Neat, we see just a tidbit of who you are, very little bit. And nobody still even knows you. We just know of you. And I thought, why don't we do like an interview where we open you up, the modeler, get to know them, get to know their likes, their wants, their desires of the hobby. And any tricks, any details, any information you give will help everybody watching and listening. And with an interviewee type situation like we're doing, it gives you a lot more platform to talk and tell your story and anything you want to say than some other podcast. And I'm not talking about Ken's show. It just, Ken has like this half-hour thing he wants to keep so it's easy to, edit, even though he told me on the phone he takes like 12 hours or longer to edit some of those. There's only so much room for each person to be on there, and this gives you the opportunity to like, hey, tell us everything you want to tell us. It's great.
I love talking with you, and it's really nice for me to explain myself, I guess, a little bit, and let the viewer know what I'm into and what I like. So
Right. And that's great. That's why I did this. And then, like I even said earlier, you and Ken are the only ones that really opened up about who you are. Everybody else gives like 5 minutes of who they are, and then the rest is about the models that they like and build. But we still don't know them. You
Right.
you gave us your whole entire life. It was great.
Not all just some good
Well,
parts.
we skipped from when you were a little kid to when you started working, and then
Right.
it kind of. But I mean, it's so neat because even if you just gave 5 minutes, we still really wouldn't know you. We would have an idea of, who you are, but we still don't really know you. And now we know your passion, your love, and your worth ethic. Because not a lot of people have that worth ethic to follow their passion and do it. Like, I hate what I do. I'm only doing it because it's a check, and it's a pretty good one. So I'm going to keep doing it until they fire me. And I'm probably close to that. Maybe they ever catch what I do, because I've said this on other episodes. Now that I'm working from home, I'll show you my little setup. Why didn't it change? I've got, in my hobby room, I've got my work desk right there.
Nice.
So, yeah. And then it's all in my hobby room. So guess what I'm doing while I'm working?
The best thing you can be doing your hobby.
Yes, right. So all day, every day, 7 days a week, I'm building something, even if it's just for a little bit or the whole day, because I don't really do a lot at work, and I get paid a lot to do it. So as soon as they figure that out, or as soon as we have to go back to the building, I'm going to hate my life. Hate it with a passion. I'm going to hate my job, and then I'm going to hate my life because I can't build anymore until the weekend.
Well, the only constant in life is change. So
right.
Change is a good.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing, and it's good when you can meet people and talk to them. Like if the pandemic didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have started this podcast. Right. So it's neat that it did change. It did happen just so I could start this and talk to people that I like to talk to. I mean, modelers are some of the coolest people out there.
I agree.
Because things like you said, you could do a TED Talk and talk to a bunch of nobodies that you're probably never going to see again, and just spit off some information that'll help them, but you're not going to really get much out of it. You're just, because you're never going to see them. Here, if I told you one thing and then I saw a month later that you used whatever I said and I see it, it's like, haha, yes, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's cool that we could talk and feed off of each other. Just like you guys in St. Louis, you're all so close. And then you do like a once a week thing where you're all together most of the times. All together, you can just feed off of each other every weekend. It's so neat. Like, I'm a lone wolf out here in North Carolina.
A lot of people don't see behind the scenes of it is we're all bringing projects in, or most of us projects in, whether they're talked about on the show or not. We're still showing and telling with all of our friends. It's like the old heads in the hobby stores, Saturday at noon, all of them were there, all 10 of them, and they're talking and just bullshitting about whatever they want,
Yeah.
But it was information change, and that's a lot how the show is. The first hour before we even get started is kind of show and tell. Hey, what's going on? Hey, this is this.
Yeah.
Hey, I just got my new Walthers. It's great. It's having a club without having a club.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you guys are your own club. You're the What's Neat Club. You're the What's Neat gang. I mean, to have a show of just Ken, say he did an episode where it's just him, it would kind of be really off tilt because you guys are always there and he feeds off of you and you feed off of him and you talk about all this stuff. It wouldn't be the same if you guys weren't all there. So you're the What's Neat gang. You're the crew of the podcast.
I love hanging out, and I had watched before I had went over there. I watched him for years. He was my main mentor. I can't wait to see what else he puts out next,
Yeah.
And then to be able to meet him. And I mean, it was the first time I was ever there was a jaw dropping experience, deer in headlight. Cause I had seen different projects that he worked on for years, and to be standing in Ken Patterson's basement,
Right.
It was mind blowing. And then, for him and I to talk, and we just really hit it off and had a lot of like ideas, and we're a lot like-minded. And, now I can call him one of my best friends. I don't have many friends. I can count the amount of friends that I have.
Dude, you and I are the same person. I don't consider anybody I work with a true friend. They're just colleagues and co-workers. And I don't hang out with nobody out here. I come home from work if I had to go to work. I come home, I stay home. I don't go out unless I have to go shopping for something. I don't hang out with anybody ever. My friends are the people on Facebook that I comment on and reply to. And then the few that we chat in, Facebook Messenger with. And then when I go to the meets and the shows, those are the people that I truly like to talk to, that we only see each other at a show.
Right. I have my best friend Tim, who this is his basement. He's my land baron. And then Raina and a couple other people that I've known for a few years, but like I said, one hand. But everyone that I've met, there's so many of them. Geez, right. I'm not even going to mention because there's so many of them. But, like George Bogatalk, him and I, had met at a couple meets, and now we're calling each other once a month just to check up on each other, and that's a long distance great friendship, Yeah. Mike here are, I feel very connected with him. Him and I always have great things to talk about. Campbell Rice is a great guy, that I really enjoy talking to. And even Daniel, he's a young little whippersnapper, but he has a lot of great knowledge. And the best thing with him is he thirsts for the knowledge too. Mm-hmm. He takes in as much, and that's great. It's a great bunch of people,
Yeah, I fully enjoy that crowd, even though I will say I'm not as much as a train guy. I do like trains. Steam era is my favorite era of trains. I don't care for these modern diesel engines. They don't do nothing for me. Right. But the cars I build are meant for modern day, today scenes. So if I had a train set, I'd have to have that modern train in the background. But it'd probably just be there for background. It wouldn't do anything else.
They're excursion trains now, so you can have steam.
Yes.
That's
with a 40s diesel engine pushing behind it just to make sure it doesn't break down.
Yeah.
That's my period. And I would love, no kidding, I would love to be able to move out there just so I can hang out with you guys, because even though, like I said, I'm not that much of a train guy, it's the hobby talk. It's the friendship and the knowledge that we can all share and feed off of each other. That's the greatest thing. And like you said, you only have maybe, a handful of friends, but they're such good friends. Would they take a bullet for you? Probably. Do they ever need to? Probably not. But those are like the people that you surrounded yourself with and you truly have a good time, instead of maybe like your wife's coworkers that you don't really know, that you have to hang out with every once in a while. And you're like, these aren't my people, but I'll put on a smiley face. That's different. Those are like your coworkers, like, I guess I have to do this. But those people, you don't have to guess you have to do it. You just naturally do it. And I love that.
There are different situations to be accepted, but for the most part, I've never met an angry railroader, an angry modeler. Right. There's some grumpy old guys that don't, want to bitch about DCC or, want to bitch about the little kids running around his layout. But for the most part, we're an open group of people. We're willing to let anybody in.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing to show maybe more of the world. Maybe
definitely. Yeah. You want to hear something funny? So, true fact. I go out there 2018 to the RPM meet for the first time ever. It's the first show I showed anything that I've ever built at. because I didn't take it to regular model, like my little cars. I didn't take to model car shows because they didn't really have, a, a scale for that or whatever. It's for the bigger cars
Yeah.
who, So that's the first time I ever go, and I'm already really good friends with Ken on Facebook because I love his cars and I build the
Right.
same stuff as he does, and I just make hot rods out of the stuff he makes stock, and
Right.
we had the same love for GM vehicles, and I was like a younger version of what I should have been if I was his age or something. And we just naturally got along. So I told him I was going out there. He said, "What hotel you at?" He said, "You're coming over for dinner. We're going to have dinner. I'll show you my layout. And then I'll even have you go see Ken Patterson's, What's Neat show. You'll be on it." And I'm like, I don't know who this is. I didn't know who Ken was at that time because I'm not a railroader. I stuck with the cars. I didn't pay attention to any model railroading groups at all. Nothing. I just stayed with the 187 scale group. And I didn't know who it was. So I go to his house, and he has a great house, especially looking over the bluff at the Mississippi. I mean, the house was great, let alone the basement was even greater. And so Ken is just a normal, everyday, nothing special person at that time. So it wasn't until afterwards I started looking into this guy, like, holy crap, he's a huge deal in the model railroading. And I just probably sat next to and talked to royalty of the HO world, I mean, he's such a huge photographer, been on all the magazines in the cover of it, and he's such an influential person for that hobby. And like you've been watching him for all this time. He's like basically a celebrity, and then you're starstruck, but at that time he was just like nothing. And now I see what a big deal he is, and it's like, I'm so glad that I didn't get so flubbergusted or had that Hollywood, my favorite movie star kind of, tongue twister thing with him and felt nervous around him. Because then I don't know, to me, I would have felt like a goof. Like, because he probably doesn't even know that. And if he decides to watch this, or if he has time to watch this, and he hears this, because I never told him, that's the only time he'll know, unless you leak that out to him. But at least when I talked to him, that I felt more confident because he was like nothing to me. I don't know. That's bad to say, but I mean, he's cool. I love the guy, and he's so knowledgeable. Yeah. I feel like Mike could be my father, you could be my brother, and Ken could be the older brother, while Daniel is the younger brother. And Campbell Rice could be like my two dads or something.
Yeah, regular.
Yeah, right. Because you and me, we're pretty much the same age, and Mike and Campbell, they're probably the same age up there, and Ken's only a few years, half a decade older than us.
Yeah.
And then Daniel's 2 decades lower than us, or a decade lower than us. So we're just one big family. That would be great.
It is great. So
yeah, right on, man. Well, I don't know. You want to talk about anything else? You got anything special that you're working on besides that DeLorean, or?
No.
The floor's yours if you're good, or if you're not, we can end it.
On the layout, I'll just kind of give you a little bit of a. Let's see if I can. So, I'm doing castings for a wall there, and that's the back of the bar. And then this is supposed to be over there, but just building a lot of buildings and sculpting some scenery and stuff. That's it. Just diligence on the layout. And that's pretty much all I really do.
You look like you have as much done as Mike does. Mike's layout's much huger, but he only has like 1% of it like that's finished, that is photography ready.
The thing that took me a long time was the actual back of the bar, the front, the actual woodworking and stuff. Out on my big part, and you can see this if you go to Fountain City Railroad on Facebook, but I have kind of an island, and it moves. It's on casters, so it rolls away, so I can get to different parts of the layout. I kind of sectioned the layout as a little more module-esque, so I don't get overwhelmed with things. This is a huge project. And a year ago, October is when I kind of conceived it. I got a big notebook and just started drawing some ideas out. And like I said, Tim's an idea man, so he kept shooting things out to me. And it was neat to kind of see it come to fruition on these different pages that I would just be drawing. And, kind of it's just grown into a monstrosity from there. So
a year ago is when you started.
A year ago, October 2019 is when I originally bought the book and started drawing stuff for ideas for it.
And then you have a train that can go all the way around functionally.
Yeah.
That's not bad, man. That's not bad at all. I know you can see the updates on Rice Campbell and he's super speed building and whatnot, but I think I would be even further back behind you in that time frame because
so I got so much done because I took a 3-month hiatus from Sugarfire. I took 3 months as a couple of years ago I had some blood pressure issues and weight has been a factor for me. So when the pandemic first hit, I was worried that I was going to be one of the ones that get messed up over it. So I said to Sugarfire, I said, I love you guys, but if you guys let me, I'm going to take some time off. And so, the owner is very compassionate and he said, go take some time off. So I spent 3 months down here every single day. And it was just a press. And I kind of had time frames set up when I first sat down and started drawing. I thought, well, I would love to have track being laid in 10, 12 months. And it turns out it was 6 months and I had half the track already laid. So, wow. I went guns a-blazing and, internet is your friend with ordering stuff right to the house. So I had, most of the things either already on hand because I had been grabbing things at different meets and stuff, or I would order what I needed. And I just went gangbusters. I literally every single day I was here from noonish until midnight.
Oh, that's cool.
And I and don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm work all the time. I'm playing video games with Tim or
right, but you're there. The ideas are flowing.
Try or but I was always, and to this day I still am always to the point where what little thing can I get done? If I don't want to work on the whole thing, give me a little thing to do. Let me tape off a building so I can spray paint it later, or just one little thing, and you put that one little thing in front of this one little thing and then this little thing, and you got a lot of things done. So that's kind of how I look at it. But I make sure not to get burnt out on it. I make sure not to overwork. I take days off at a time. There was a few weeks ago, I took a few weeks off and I said, I need to step back and take a break. And, I played, a week's worth of Grand Theft Auto instead of doing anything over here.
The best game ever made.
Absolutely. So, I want to stay fresh with it. I want to stay into it, but I don't want to feel like it's something that I have to do. It's something that I want to do. Right, and that's the main thing with your hobby is, I feel for Ken because he made his hobby his job, and I don't know if I could do that,
I say this with desire and what's the other word I'm looking for? Desire and jealousy. I think Ken's job is the dream job for any modeler. Yet, the bigger part of that dream would be to build it on your own time frame and not have to have a deadline on any of it, and to be able to say yes or no on any of it or all of it, so you can still just get paid to build whatever you want instead. That's the dream job. But yeah, Ken has a dream job,
He
May not be
does.
for all of us, but it's definitely a modeler's dream job in one
Yeah,
way or another.
absolutely. Doing any of that kind of stuff. Even James Regier just became editor, one of the editors of Model Railroad Hobbies. Or yeah. And so that's great for him, but for me personally, I would hate to be talking about trains all day. That's like me talking about food all day. I'll give you my 2 cents and I'll tell you what you need to know. But when I get home, I don't want to talk about food anymore necessarily.
Right. Yeah, I don't
Right.
do these recordings. Like the interviews I do, I was just telling my wife, I said, do you notice how I do these interviews? I said, I'll do 4 to 5 to say 6 or 7 back to back to back. And I only put out one interview or one podcast interview a week. And so that gives me backlog. So I don't have to do nothing for like 2 months. Right. And so if I could do it just for a straight week, then I have nothing to worry about for 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's how I work. So that'd be like the same thing. If you could get paid to talk about trains, go like on a week tour of something to different train shows, and then don't have to do nothing for another 2-3 months. That'd be perfect.
Right. Yeah. That's like those crabs up in Alaska. They crab for a few weeks and then they're done for the year. Or people own haunted houses. They're open between September and October, and then they don't do anything for the rest of the year.
Right. They can just live in that house.
Right.
So it's funny because Ken was saying on that show with God, why do I never remember her name? The lady from London or the UK.
Jenny Kirk?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just watching her live stream today, and I still already forgot her name. But he was saying, COVID has shut down so much here in America like it did over there in the UK. But he said there was the National Train Railroad Committee or whatever. Some company or railroad society put on a show every single week or every other week somewhere in America and all the states. And they travel all year around and do this. And he said it's like 2 people that was the head in charge of all of it that would, have their little people go out and make sure everything was good to go and whatnot. But it was every single week or every other week, all year long. And what he was saying is it hurt their business dramatically because of that. But speaking about what you're saying, that's every week you're talking about trains all year long. You're doing something with trains that gives you no time off. None. Right. Sounds great to say, but to actually do.
Right. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta balance stuff out.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to do that. I don't want to build models every single day. I like to take a day off or take 2 days off if I want to have to do it every day. Well, Joshua, this was great, man. Yeah. I really like talking to you. And if you would like to be on again, I would love to have you back because you and I just get along really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk with you again, Sam. So you just let me know whenever.
Right on, man. Maybe you'll be a co-host. Kidding.
I can do that too. I do that. Right.
Right. Right on, man. This was awesome. I think everybody will like it. And if you have, I can get a link or I can go onto your Facebook page, but can you send me the links to your personal layout page? Yes. I can get Sugarfire on, the website. That's easy to find, but your personal layout page. Yeah, I want to link everything in the description.
Absolutely, I can do that. So I'm Joshua Barton on Facebook, and Sugarfire STL is my restaurant, and then Fountain City Railroad is my personal railroad. But I will send you all that stuff as soon as I figure out how to do that. So, but yeah,
cool.
And I had a wonderful time tonight talking with you.
Awesome. Well, stay on real quick. I'll do the send off to the end of the show, and then we'll say our goodbyes once that's done. So everybody, Joshua Barton, hell of a cool guy. Look for his information in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked any of this content that you are watching or you watched on this one. And go to his page, be his friend. You know, he's cool. I'm sure he'll accept you, hopefully. But yeah, like and subscribe, comment on it if you like it. And until the next episode, you guys have a good rest of your day. Let's get this done. Pause. All right, so that was Joshua Barton. Pretty cool guy. And like I said, 2 or 3 times, or maybe 4, he dove deep into his tell us a little bit about yourself part of this. And that's cool. It didn't deal with models, but it dealt with his life and his passion. And just like modeling, people have passions for modeling. He had a passion for, rising up the ranks in restaurants and learning how to cook, like everything. And that also applies in modeling. I mean, if you're cooking, using your hands, creating these masterpieces of food, that's the same thing as creating a masterpiece of a model. It's just a different model. It's food. So guy is super passionate, and I think his story was pretty neat story. I wasn't expecting him to go into that deep. I wasn't expecting him to tell us anything about his job, but I mean, it was neat to hear that side of him, the other side of modeling. You see a lot on the podcast, people talk about, the models. That's what the podcast is for, but it's also about modeling in general. And even though you're not modeling with plastic resin or whatever, he modeled food and created masterpieces with some of his food. So it all applies in one way or another. So it's pretty cool to hear that side of his life and to get to know Joshua a little bit better. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was interesting. And he's a model railroader more than he is a model vehicle builder. So it's neat to be able to see the other side of this hobby. I'm just a model vehicle builder, but he builds model railroads, and he builds cars, and he builds buildings for it, all the scenery. So it's neat to see the other side of our little vehicle hobby. And definitely it was interesting to see the other side of modeling in general. I mean, I never thought about modeling food, but that was his passion, and he figured it out, and he's doing it. So how cool is that? Anyways, hope you liked it. Videos down here, check those out. And yeah, like I said in the interview, like and subscribe, please, and comment if you have any questions or if you have any concerns or whatever. And have a good night. See you guys later.